Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Math Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. So we're going to talk about dot or scalar product. This is going to be in two parts, okay? So this part one, I'm going to introduce the concepts. I'm going to write down the formulas and how to solve it. Then in the next part, part two, I'm going to solve some examples. So that is why it's important for you to like, share, and subscribe. And if you've not clicked the notification bell, I don't know what you're waiting for, please do so that when I post the next video, the part two, you'll be the first person to know. All right, so when we talk about dot or scalar product, basically it's like an operation that takes two vectors and returns a scalar quantity. So when we have vector A, want to do a dot product with vector B, we use the dot sign here. Are you seeing it? So that's how we write it. So it's going to be A dot B or A dot product B. So this is the dot sign we use here. Okay. And I'm going to show you how, and if, for instance, A and B, all right? So we have A and we have B, and they have an angle here, theta. How do you find the dot product? I'm going to show you the formula. But also, if they are also expressed not in the terms of X, Y, and Z, or in two components or three components, but they're expressed in the terms of IJ, AI plus AJ plus AK, and we have BI plus BJ plus BK. All right, and there is no angle here. They're given in terms of this. How do you solve it? So I'm going to talk about all this in this video. All right, so but what I'm going to do, I'm going to take it one step at a time, okay, so that it will be easy for you to understand. Now, because I know some students do take notes, I'm going to write down what I just said so that it will be easy to follow. So when we say dot or scalar product, okay, so dot or scalar product, what I'm referring to is an operation, okay? So this is an operation that takes two vectors, okay? So it's one that takes two vectors, and after which it now returns a scalar quantity, all right? So it takes two vectors and returns a scalar quantity, and that is what we call dot product, all right? It takes two vectors and returns a scalar quantity. And also, it is denoted by, so then dot or scalar product. Okay, dot or scalar product is denoted as, so A dot B. Is that making sense? So you write it as A dot B. So that's how you write it. So A dot B. So let's quickly get straight into this. Okay, so I have assumed that you've watched the previous video, so you're conversant with what I'm going to be talking about. So it's important you've done that. So let's go straight. So what are the mathematical formulas for this? Okay. So what are the mathematical formulas? So now first thing first is that if there is an angle between the two vectors and they are expressed in terms of the two component X and Y, or three component X, Y, Z, okay? So if there is an angle, so if the question you have, there's an angle between the two vectors, so assuming you have, let's assume we have vector, um, you have vector A and we have vector B, okay? And there is an angle here, theta, okay? And you are meant to find the dot product. And A and B are represented in terms of X, Y, and Z components, okay? So they're represented in terms of X, Y, and Z. So that means technically you have, either you have it in terms of maybe X, Y, Z in three component, or X, Y in two component, or regardless, but you have an angle. So the key thing is when you're solving this, there's an angle between the two vectors. So when you're solving and there's an angle, how you find the dot product is a bit different, okay? So the dot product, A dot B, between both of them is equal to the magnitude of A multiplied by the magnitude of B cos what? Theta, okay? And I've showed you how to find the magnitude of each of this in the previous video, okay? So we know that where this is equal to the magnitude of A, while this sign here refers to the what? The magnitude of B. So if you've not watched the video of how to find magnitude, please, this is a good time to go back and have a look. All right, so and also, in addition to that, we know that the theta is the angle between the two vectors. So if, for instance, you are given and you have A dot B, so you have two vectors and the angle is between them. Now, that's how you do the first one. Now, the second one here now is if there is no angle. So if there is no angle between them, but they are being expressed in terms of IJK. So number one was if there's an angle, right? Number two, if the two vectors okay, are expressed. So in this case, the two vectors are expressed in terms of unit vectors, okay? So the I, J, and K. So if they're expressed in terms of unit vectors, so remember I told you earlier for unit vectors, the I represents the X component in unit vector, the J represent the Y component, and the K represent the Z component, right? So now, if you're having this, so that means you're having the same thing, okay? But now you were not given the angle, but you were told that A, we have it as A, the I component, plus A, the J component, plus A, the K component. You were given this. And you were given B, I component, plus B, the J component, plus B, the K component, okay? You're represented in unit vectors, but the angle was not given. So how do you find A dot B? So A dot B is going to be very simple. Basically, what it means is that we can then separate each of this. So that means I can call this one A1, and I can call the J component A2, and I call this A3. Are you seeing it? I can call this B1, I can call this B2, and I can call this B3, just to separate the I component. So the I component is going to be the ones, the J component is going to be the twos, and the K component is going to be threes. So it's going to be A dot B is going to be equal to A1, B1 plus A2, B2 plus A3, B3. And that is that for that. So if there is an angle, it's going to be the magnitude of A times magnitude of B cos theta. If there is no angle, it's going to be A1, B1 plus A2, B2 plus A3, B3. Okay? So now we've had two formulas now, and they are both A dot B. So the first one is magnitude of A, magnitude of B cos theta, while the second one is A1, B1 plus A2, B2 plus A3, B3, right? Now we can combine both of them now, okay? So let's combine both of them. So now generally we can now say, based on what I've said, okay? So we can now say, since we know A dot B is equal to, when there's an angle, magnitude of A, magnitude of B cos theta, all right? We've agreed about that. And also, we also know that A dot B is the same thing as saying A1, B1 plus A2, B2 plus A3, B3. 3. Now, if you look at this, the A dot B in the first one is exactly the same A dot B in the second one. So the only difference is if there was an angle, right? So that means I can combine both of them. So therefore, I can now say A dot B will be equal to the magnitude of A, magnitude of B cos theta. And this is the same thing. It's also equal to A1 B1 plus A2 B2 plus A3 B3. Okay? So now with this now, I can play around with all types of formulas. So I can derive all my formulas from this. Okay, I can derive all my formulas for this. So because based on this formula now, I can now say, all right, I can derive the first one. So the first one I can now say now is that, okay, since we've agreed to that, then I can now add that, definitely, if we have it like this one must be equal to this one. Are you seeing it? So therefore, I can now say A, B cos theta is equal to A1, B1 plus A2, B2 plus A3, B3. You see, I've derived one formula now. So if you go to the textbook, this is one of the formula you've seen. Okay, so, and also, if I can want to find the theta, cos theta, so it's the same thing. I can now say, to get the cos theta now, we can now play around with this. So if I want to look for the cos theta, if I want to look for the cos of the angle between both of them, I can now say if magnitude of A, magnitude of B, cos theta is equal to A1, B1 plus A2, B2 plus A3, B3, okay? If I want to get the cos of that angle, I can divide both sides by the magnitude of A, magnitude of B, divide this part also by the magnitude of A, the magnitude of B, okay? So that this will then cancel out this part, okay? Then we can now have cos theta will be equal to A1, B1 plus A2, B2 plus A3, B3 divided by the magnitude of A and the magnitude of what? B. So you can see we've had another formula here as well. Okay, so you can see we already have another formula to get the cos of the angle. So if the question asks you to get the cos of the angle between the two vectors. Okay, if the question asks you to get the cos of the angle between the two vectors. Now, finally, the question can also ask you to then get the angle itself. So basically, to look for theta. Okay, so the question can then ask you then to look for theta. So you can look for theta from the second one here. So since we know that cos theta was equal to A1 B1 plus A2 B2 plus A3 B3 divided by the magnitude of A, the magnitude of B. So we can get rid of this theta by finding the cos inverse. So theta is going to be what? The cos inverse of, okay, A1 B1 plus A2 B2 plus A3 B3, all divided by the magnitude of A and the magnitude of what? B. Okay? And that will give you the third formula. So you can see we have three formulas here that we can play around or you can be asked questions about. Okay? So you can be asked about this. So you can be asked to find the theta. Okay? You can be asked as well to find the cos theta, or you can have to equate both the magnitude of A, magnitude of B cos theta equals to A1 B1 plus A2 B2. Now, there is something I need to say before we start solving question. if two vectors are perpendicular, that is the angle is 90 degrees. So that means if we have, let's have this one now. So if we have, let me use this color. So now, if we have two vectors, so if we have vector A and vector B, okay? Let's assume this is vector A and vector B, and both of them are perpendicular, all right? So if we are to find the dot product, so that means A dot B is gonna be the magnitude of A, the magnitude of B cos theta, right? Because the angle was given in this. So A dot B we equal to the magnitude of A, magnitude of B cos 90 degrees. Now, you already know that cos 90 is equal to what? 0. All right, so we know that cos 90 is 0. So that means it's going to be A dot B equal to magnitude of A, magnitude of B times what? 0. And because we're multiplying by 0, everything is going to be what? 0. So you can see when two vectors are perpendicular, the dot product is going to be what? 0. Okay, so I'm going to write it down here so that you can also keep it in your notes. So it's very important. The dot product when two vectors are perpendicular is 0. So if two vectors are perpendicular, okay, the angle theta is going to be 90 degrees. Okay, so hence we know that cos theta or cos 90 is going to be equal to 0. And if cos 90 is 0, so therefore, the dot product will be 0. So the dot product is 0 when they are what? Perpendicular. Okay? So therefore, we can now say A dot B, okay, will be equal to what? Magnitude of A, magnitude of B, cos 90, and that will be equal to what? 0. All right, so it's very important to take note of this because in some questions, you might be given that you should find some particular variables given that the dot product is 0. So when you are being told the dot product is 0, it means that the two vectors are perpendicular. All right, and that will bring me to the end of this video. All right, in the next video, the part 2, I'm going to solve some examples. So it's important that you subscribe and you get to click the notification bell so that when I post the next video, you'll be the first person to know. All right. So I'll see you soon in the next video where we're going to solve some questions. All right. All right. So I'll see you soon. And if you have any question, please don't hesitate to contact me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you very much and have a nice day.